We may not raise stones today, but we can still raise up reminders of God's goodness in our lives. These reminders, our own Ebenezers, can help anchor our hearts in gratitude. They remind us that no matter what season we're in, God has always been faithful and He always will be. Hey there, friend. Welcome to Beneath the Fig Tree. I'm Rose, and I'm so glad you're here, like really a lot. And can I tell you something? We all know that reading the Bible and praying are so important. They're non-negotiable even. But I also believe that there's so much more to a great devotional life than the, quote, perfect quiet time that we've all been taught about. I want to give you permission to lay down the guilt and the shame about what your devotional life looks like right now compared to what you think it should look like. And then discover how you best relate with God so that you can cultivate a devotional life that you love and you look forward to. Around here, I'll share loads of inspiration, lots of tools and encouragement, all to help you cultivate the kind of meaningful relationship with God that you've always longed for, but you just didn't know how to make happen. Are you ready to breathe new life into your devotional journey? Grab a cup, friend, and let's chat. As we approach Thanksgiving, I want to share a simple but really powerful practice that can train us to recognize God's faithfulness in our lives and to help us cultivate a heart of gratitude. It's the idea of building an Ebenezer, a practice that's actually rooted in Scripture, and it gives us a tool to help us live with a deeper sense of gratitude and trust in God's goodness. In 1 Samuel 7:12, after God gave the Israelites victory over their enemies, the prophet Samuel raised up a stone and he called it Ebenezer, which just means stone of help. He said, "Thus far, the Lord has helped us." And I love that picture. It was Samuel's way of saying, let's mark this moment so that we never forget what God has done for us. We may not raise stones today, but we can still raise up reminders of God's goodness in our lives. These reminders, our own Ebenezers, can help anchor our hearts in gratitude. They remind us that no matter what season we're in, God has always been faithful and He always will be. So, how do we build our own Ebenezer today if we're not going to stack stones or stand up large stones? How do we mark those moments where we see God at work? Well, first, we're going to start off with gratitude. So, we're simply make a list of blessings. James 1:17 tells us that every good and perfect gift is from above. It comes down from the Father in heaven. So, what are some of the gifts or blessings that you've received recently? Or what are some places where you've seen God's favor? It could be something really simple, like just a peaceful morning, or it could be something really big, like an answer to prayer or a breakthrough that you have waited a really long time for. Whatever it is, these blessings are all evidence of God's love and care in your life. And once you start taking inventory, I promise that you will find that His blessings are unending. Psalm 103:2 encourages us to forget not all His benefits. So writing down these blessings actually helps us remember what God has done so that we don't take His goodness for granted. And then the second step is finding blessings in disguise. And I'll tell you that this one can be a little bit more challenging. We're going to think about the difficult seasons, those times when things were really hard or they just didn't go the way that you'd hoped. Romans 8:28 promises that in all things God works for the good of those that love Him. So have there been moments where something seemed impossibly unending, But when you look back, you can actually see how God used it for your good. Maybe it was a loss or a setback or a really difficult situation that actually ended up becoming a blessing in disguise. When we start to recognize these moments, they become a part of our Ebenezer, reminders that God's hand was on us even when we couldn't see it. For Brandon and me, it was actually when he was diagnosed with cancer. It changed everything for us, even our faith. But for the good. There were so many hard days, months even, but I could do a whole podcast episode recounting all the blessings that came from that season and all the ways that God continues to bless us through the cancer experience. The third step is to mark the moment. So after reflecting on these moments, find a way to mark them. It could be through journaling or keeping a gratitude jar or even just writing them on a sticky note and keeping them in a place where you'll see them throughout the day. Deuteronomy 4:9 says, "Only be careful and watch yourselves closely so that you do not forget the things that your eyes have seen." Having a visual reminder helps us keep God's faithfulness front and center, especially when life gets tough. In our scripture cultivations for this month, I'll be sharing lots of different ideas for you in building your own Ebenezers. But one tip that can be really helpful is to find some way to capture or make note of your Ebenezers while they're happening, or at least as soon as you recognize them. Even if you just jot a sentence down in your notes app on your phone, or maybe take a picture of something that captures that moment and drop it in an album on your phone. Mine is called Love Notes from God. About a year or so ago, I wrote a guest post for Twyla Fran's Gratitude Series blog, and it was all about collecting your God stories. So in it, I share lots of other ways to capture your Ebenezer moments with God. So I will include the link for that blog post down in the show notes, just in case you want to read it for a little bit more inspiration. As we head into this Thanksgiving season, take some time to build your own Ebenezer. Whether it's recognizing the obvious blessings in your life or reflecting on the ways that God has worked through your difficult challenges. Remember that each of these moments is a part of your story with God. Psalm 145:4 says, "One generation will commend your works to another. They will tell of your mighty acts." So let's be people who declare God's goodness, marking the moments where His faithfulness has carried us. And if you'd like some encouragement in cultivating gratitude, may I invite you to join me as I participate in my friend Twyla Fran's annual gratitude challenge. This year, it's called the Reflecting Jesus Challenge, and the whole focus is all about seeing Jesus reflected in the people around us. So each day, she will share a characteristic of Jesus, something like his kindness or his patience or his gentleness, and then encourage us to think of somebody in our life that we know who embodies that quality. And then you'll be able to tag them on Instagram or the Facebook post so that you can affirm and thank them. But even more importantly, just take a moment to thank God for them. For those who join the challenge, she'll also be sending out a daily prayer asking Jesus to help us reflect on his nature in our own lives. And it's such a sweet way to combine gratitude with intentional spiritual growth. So I'll leave a link down in the show notes for you. That way, if you want to join us, you can do that. Thanks so much for joining me today, friends. I'm so grateful for each of you. Be sure to check out the show notes for Twyla's Gratitude Challenge and for our scripture cultivations for this month. Also, if you found this podcast in any way helpful or encouraging or inspiring, may I ask you to take just a moment to rate and review the podcast. Your kind words not only encourage me immensely, but they also help other people find the podcast too. So let's cultivate a devotional life you love, like really love, because it is possible and it's easier than you think. Chat soon, friend.